Super.
Um, yeah, so this one seemed to be pretty popular
Oh, good.
for a
Good. Yeah.
topic. Yeah. So, and I was kind of going through my, training and my notes and stuff like that because I've done this, plenty of times for sure. But I just realized so normally these are about 30 minutes. This is gonna be probably about 40 minutes.
Oh,
Like I don't know if we're gonna get through everything and questions and everything like that in 30 minutes. So let me see if there's anybody that's trying to get in. Usually I get a couple messages. I'm trying to get in. Don't think that's happening. All right. All right. So welcome. I'm glad you are here, and I'll let people in as they come in. And who here has experienced uncomfortable bloating? Yeah. Um, and it's frustrating because it like really like it's like it just makes you uncomfortable, and it's like it really impacts your daily life and your confidence, not only your digestion, but also it feels like, you're going two steps backwards when if you're trying to lose weight, it's like, but I have this as well. So it really kind of impacts everything. So the goal with today's training is just to understand why does that happen and then how to fix it with some simple effective strategies, because a lot of times the things that you're doing to try and lose weight are causing the bloating. So it's like it's a vicious cycle. And so there's a lot that actionable steps that we can take today. There's also some deeper things that you might need to address, which we're not going to get into that today, but it's about having, giving you the information on if you need to dig deeper on this. Just a little backstory. I definitely went through the ringer with this, going through perimenopause. And so literally everything changed with my body. I had no idea that I was going through perimenopause. I was like 46, 47. I thought menopause happened when you turn 50 and nobody was talking about menopause. So I'm 57 now. This is like 10 years ago. And so much changed. And like I used to be able to drink no problem, but then I would like have a cocktail and I would get either super flushed or I just was having a different reaction than I normally was. And then I started coming up with these huge, just being bloated all the time. And I could not figure out what it was. And so I would look like what foods help bloating, and they said things like black pepper will help with bloating, and it was not helping at all. And so it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I finally went and had a test. I think it's called an MHRT test. And one of the things that I cannot have is black pepper. So I was literally throwing fuel onto the fire. And so if you suspect a food intolerance, then, maybe that you'll have to get tested for that. But, the thing is like getting to the root cause, of that bloating in the first place, and not just trying to cover it because like, yeah, you can take gas X and things like that, but that's not addressing the root cause of why that's actually happening. So hormonal changes, right? That was kind of the point of that. And what happens is estrogen and progesterone are fluctuating, right? It's going to slow down your digestion, and that's going to lead to bloating. It's also going to lead to water retention. And so there's a lot more that's going on in your body than just bloating necessarily. And so kind of identifying what is bloating, what's water retention, and then also your microbiome changes as well, and your metabolism changes. And so these all come to a head as you're going through the changes of through the stages of menopause. And this typically happens in your late 40s for most people. Towards the late 40s into your 50s, that's when you start to see these changes happening. It could be earlier and it could be later. Some people never, notice the changes as they're going through menopause. But this is going to affect declining estrogen, particularly, is going to affect your gut bacteria. This can then increase gas. It can increase bloating. It can increase food intolerances, things that you used to be able to have no problem, like you no longer can have. And so, it's a very real thing, what's happening to your body and what's happening to your hormones. And then the big one, and everybody's like poo-pooing, right? Like stress, isn't it, right? Ladies, stress is everything when you are in menopause. Stress is the number one reason why you can't lose weight. It's why you're having hot flashes and night sweats. It's because we are so susceptible to stress. And then our lifestyle, we pile more on top of that instead of pulling back. And so that's what I see very, very common is it's this last push, and we're trying to get everything done and taking care of everybody. And so cortisol is going to affect your digestion. It's also going to influence how you retain water, your fluid balance. And so when we're constantly boom, 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 we're hitting cortisol through workouts, through high intensity workouts, through reading stressful emails, scrolling on TikTok, doom scrolling, watching the news. We're constantly getting this hit of cortisol, and we don't take time to freaking relax and step back from that stuff. And then don't give me your bullshit like I can't control my stress. We all have stress. There's nobody here that doesn't have stress. It's how you deal with it that's going to impact how stress is going to impact your metabolism and your gut and your digestion, right? So this whole there's nothing I can do about it. That's very what's the word for it? Like you just lay down and die, and that's just the way that's going to be, right? It's not proactive at all. It's being very reactive or non-active at all. So there is a lot that you can do. So there is a huge gut-brain connection. You probably have maybe you're on the highway and somebody almost sideswipes you. You feel that in your gut. That is a very acute reaction to stress. It is fight or flight, right? It's like you have to take action right now. And that's very much what's going on. And that's cortisol, like just ramping up. But we have these events when we open up an email and it says, I hate to tell you, but, or you get a text from somebody like, can we talk? Like it's the same reaction that you're getting. And so you're constantly in this fight or flight mode. And this affects your gut microbiome. And so it's going to divert energy away from your digestion. So not only it's like a double whammy. It's your body has to deal with the stress. And the number one way that it does is that acute reaction, that immediate reaction where everything tenses. And then now we're not even focusing on the digestion aspect anymore. It says that my recorder went off. Hopefully it's recording this call so I can send out the replay. So again, really paying attention, I think that the first thing is to what is happening, to what does the stress level in your life look like? And there are definitely ways that we can combat that. I think I'm going to do a separate training on that personally, but I think this is one of the main reasons that we're always wondering, we're always walking around with bloating is because we're constantly being bombarded with stress and cortisol. So if you don't think that that's a connection, I'm here to tell you that is absolutely a very real thing. And if you don't get that under control, it doesn't matter the tips that I give you, it's not going to help, right? Because you're constantly bombarding yourself. So when stress is going to increase the cortisol, it slows down digestion. They're in fact then increasing your bloating. And so constantly being in that fight or flight response, right, is going to affect your digestion. So there are some quick fixes that you can do for that. So deep breathing. Whenever you're in a stressful situation, like take 4 breaths in, hold it for 4 seconds, and then 4 breaths out. Like damn well, right? When somebody sends you a text, you're firing away and responding, right? And then you're like, hold on, okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me just like take a couple seconds, and you look and like, yeah, oh shit, good thing I didn't hit send on that. So really having it just changes your perception, and it's also going to help with that. So mindfulness being first, knowing that actually is what's happening. A quick fix is doing some kind of deep breathing exercise, and then it's just not putting yourself in situations like that. I'm not going to go into that because that's going to be very much like a separate topic, but avoiding the situations in the first place, and then just having stress reducing habits. I'm not saying you have to sit around on your mat and do meditation, right? But maybe you just remove yourself from the situation, maybe go for a walk. And those are going to be habits that's going to help support your digestion. So we're going to talk more about activity in just a second, but the stress, the gut-brain connection is a huge one that contributes to bloating. Next thing is water and fiber. So this is very much a balancing act. And so I'm sure you've heard that you need to get in at least 25 grams of fiber. That's pretty much pretty common, 25 grams of fiber. Some people might get too much, or maybe they're supplementing with fiber and not getting man-made fibers, or maybe maybe they're not getting natural fibers and relying on man-made fibers, like having 2 extreme wellness wraps or 2 carb balance wraps in a day, where you see those are high fiber foods. Your body cannot break those down. And so that is going to lead to bloating. So the very thing that you're like, oh, I need to get in fiber, so let me just do this, is going to cause an opposite reaction. So it's always like this balance for sure. And so I very much see that women do not get enough fiber, or they're on the opposite spectrum where they're getting too much fiber and then not having enough water. So you got to have both, right? We have to have the water, we have to have the fiber. Menopause is such a Goldilocks era. You can't have too much or too little of anything. So it's really about finding that balance, which I think is really hard to do sometimes. So you can't focus on everything, right? It's once you get something down, then you're good. So start with water, right? That's going to be at least half of your body weight in water in ounces a day, to keep your digestion moving. And I think this one's pretty easy, but then it's shocking how little people are drinking. And I used to be in that camp. It used to be no problem for me to drink a bottle of wine, right? 26.5 ounces of wine, that was no problem. But you asked me to drink 26.5 ounces of water, like maybe if I'm working out, but that was it, And so this was my 30-year-old self, 40-year-old self. So really just parenting yourself, taking care of your body, and making sure that you're getting that water in. You don't like water, I don't know, figure it out. Just figure it out, guys. Like, we're not children. Do you have to put something in there so that you can tolerate it? Then do that. But I will say things like Crystal Light, again, will have or can have an adverse reaction to the gut. So when I tell you to get water, have the fucking water, not supplemental water. When I tell you get the fiber, have the actual damn fiber, not supplemental fiber, because that's going to go the other way. So I'll promise, try not to use the F word again. We're just talking about bloating. But it kind of drives me crazy, because it's like, when I say how to do something and then somebody has to reinvent it and do this other thing, and not realizing like that there's going to have effects to that. And so fiber, again, 25 to 30 grams per day. If you're not used to, and I see a lot of like client logs where single digits of fiber, right? That's not great for the digestion. So if you're in that camp, then what are some things that you can do to increase your fiber, right? I'm not going to sit here and list all the things that have fiber. Look it up. right? Look up what foods are high in fiber. What fruits are high in fiber? What vegetables are high in fiber? Protein and fats do not have fiber. All right, so it's going to come from carbohydrates. And so a lot of you guys are on your low carb diets, right? Guess what? We're not getting in our fiber. Oh, but I don't want to eat rice or pasta, like, because it does, because, then I'll go over my calories. And it's like, it's again the cascading effect. So I want you guys to find fiber sources that you enjoy, right? I can sit here and say have kiwi with a skin on, and people are going to be like, yeah, no. It's a great way to get in fiber, 6.8 grams of fiber in one kiwi with the skin. But also raspberries are a great way to get in fiber. So just look up high fiber foods and see what's on that list that you enjoy. I don't want you to have foods that you don't enjoy, right? So that's going to be for you to figure out what foods do you like from that. And then, so make sure that we're having fiber in addition to water. I will say I do lack a little bit in fiber. I get to around about like 17, maybe 18, like on my own between my raspberries and my kiwi. I've just recently, because I am 57, have just introduced bran buds into my diet. And I will tell you, if you have the whole serving of bran buds, you're going to be in for a surprise the next day. So go easy on the fiber, guys. Go easy on the fiber. And since I already went there, there's nothing more satisfying than just a bowel, like a bowel eliminating poop in the morning, it's just like, it just feels good, so that's going to be definitely one of the benefits of fiber, is to increase stool and to increase that bulk so that we're actually moving the food through, and it's not just sitting there fermenting and causing gas and bloating and being uncomfortable. So yeah, back to the bran buds, just do like half a serving, you're good. There's like 17 grams of fiber in one serving of bran buds. It's a lot. So I just do half a serving now. So any questions at this point, or anybody have anything they want to add? You can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Kathy, what are good foods to eat for debloating?
That's going to depend on what the root cause is. So I was going to save that for the end, but preventative anti-bloating foods, right? So we're talking about you're already bloated, so now we have to debloat.
Correct.
Okay. So ginger, peppermint tea, kombucha, but it depends, because that can light a fire on what is the reason why we're bloated. Yeah. ACV, apple cider vinegar, digestive enzymes, magnesium citrate. You want to be careful with mag citrate, because that could cause disaster pants, right? That's really going to push things through. And then walking to help move gas through, and then yoga. So happy baby, like that's a really good one. That's a really good pose. So if you're like, I did something, like those are some things that you can try to debloat. So again, there's nothing that's necessarily going to be immediate. It really depends on what was the cause of the bloating. You can take, was it simethicone or dimethicone? The gas X, you can those. But that's not something you should rely on either, right? If this is chronic, then we got to figure out like, why is that happening? So,
well, it'll happen like, even if I'm like walking on the walking pad and say like I'm not bloated, and then all of a sudden I'm walking, is it taking air in, and I'm not really talking to anybody. I'm usually listening to a podcast or watching, something on TV. But and it's actually happened to my daughters too. They're like, why when I go walking do I get bloated?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're moving things through.
Okay.
It just has to keep moving through. So like, I have heard that walking causes bloating, right? There's a root cause to what's happening. What did we eat an hour before? What did we eat? Now, acute bloating is going to be from what did you eat 15 minutes before, 15 to 20 minutes. Like you're going to know damn well, like, shouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
That's acute bloating. It's really hard to pinpoint food intolerances, but that would be a good way. So I was going to talk about that in a little bit, about trying to identify those. But it's a tough. It's kind of hard to figure those things out. So really, it's looking at what does lifestyle look like? What does the stress look like? Too, and what's contributing to that, to the overall situation. All right, let's see, movement and activity. So as far as like movement goes, sitting for long periods of time, it can slow down your digestion, right? It can increase bloating. Walking after meals, like this would be preventative, or I should say, like to move gas through is walking after your meals. You could do some kind of stretching, and that's going to help keep your digestion moving. And I like to go for just like a 10 to 15 minute walk. And I really wish I hadn't said to my husband, like, oh, like I just need to go on a fart walk. Because now it's like, I'm like, hey, you want to go for a walk? And he's like, oh, we go for a fart walk. And I'm like, for Christ's sakes, can we just go for a walk? Can just enough. So, but after like Thanksgiving, like we have a big meal, like that's going to help. And you probably notice that, right? Like, okay, like maybe I'll stand over here, as that's moving through. As far as food sensitivities go, I think as your metabolism changes and your body changes and you have the dip and the drop in the hormones, then we start to see sensitivities, food sensitivities to high FODMAP foods. This could be a time where dairy and gluten become a problem. But this is going to vary, especially if you have any kind of thyroid issue, which when your hormones decline, right? Thyroid gets impacted. Thyroid is the master hormone that governs the metabolism and hormones, and that's really going to have an impact. And so if you have a thyroid issue, you're probably going to want to look at eliminating dairy and gluten. Just having a thyroid issue on its own doesn't mean you have to eliminate dairy and gluten, but if we're having problems like this, then it's time that we have to. I have to open the door for somebody to come in. 1 second. I'm on a Zoom call right now. But I put the letter there.
Thank you. Sorry about the hassle.
No problem. So when you're looking at like addressing food intolerances, what you can do is just take a food journal to track some of those patterns, and then don't like self-diagnose yourself. It's going to be really hard to kind of figure that out. But starting with a food diary, you might be able to see like what is the culprit. Like a lot of times people say, I just can't have carbs, but because they had pizza. But it could be you might have, like for me, a black pepper allergy. Thanks, guys. I so appreciate it. And the black pepper thing, like, oh, that's really hard, so it's like every time I went out, like, coolers, so you could have a tomato allergy, we're just like, it's not working for you anymore. Like, I love Brussels sprouts. I used to be able to have Brussels sprouts, no problem. Now, no bueno, and cauliflower is starting to be the same, right? I freaking love, what is that cauliflower that they're doing? Not the buffalo, but the chili sauce one now. Like, I love that. No, can't do it anymore, so your body just changes. And cruciferous vegetables, right, high in fiber, this would be something you would want, but then it has an adverse effect. So this is a whole different can of worms, but this is also very prevalent for women that are going through menopause, just because there's so many changes. But you can also help mitigate this by reducing stress levels so that you're not reactive to just everything, right? And then we can try and pinpoint what's going on. So really making sure you're having whole food fibers, not amending your diet with fibers, having plenty of water, the right amount of activity, not too much activity that's just cranking on your stress levels all day. And then if we're having acute bloating, then just taking the notes on what's happening. And you can do this if you track in MyFitnessPal. You can have a little note on that meal. For myself, I just did notes on my phone, and I actually went through an elimination diet through this woman that I worked with when we did the food testing. So it was like 4 or 5 vials of blood that got sent down to Quest Labs, and then I had this whole report of all the food intolerances that I had. I know Everly Well does a food sensitivity test, but that's a different one. It's a pinprick. I don't know if I trust that thing. It's like $100. I don't know if that's super accurate. I know it's not. To tell you the truth, the one that I did was like $700, so it was an investment. But it also got to the point where I couldn't eat anything either. So it was good to find out. Like black pepper, I would never have found out. I can't have FD&C yellow number 6. So anytime like I have frosting or like M&Ms or something like that, I just can't. That gets me super bloated. And then chickpeas. Chickpeas is my big one. So funny enough, like when I was like, what foods are good for bloating, right? Chickpeas came up and black pepper. And so I was having those on my salads before I went to work, and then coffee at work. And then I would be super, super, super bloated. And coffee is on my list as well. So I have to be careful with the kinds of coffees that I have. So that can be a tricky one for sure. But like, we're just talking like day to day, like, hey, I have a meal and then sometimes I get bloated or I wake up bloated, like that is probably not a food tolerance, right? That's probably a stress response. So again, keeping the food journals, and then focusing on whole minimally processed foods and just noticing how your body responds. Just because a food is good for you doesn't mean that it's good for you. Right? Just because a food is healthy doesn't mean it's good for your body. Right? Everybody knows kale is great, right? Not everybody can have kale. Like you can have a reaction to that, or spinach, or anything, right? It could be anything, honestly. So to keep your digestion running smoothly, there's going to be some preventative anti-bloating foods that you can bring on board. So again, high fiber fruits and veggies, the berries, kiwi, cucumbers, leafy greens, and then also hydrating foods like watermelon. You can do celery, oranges, like predominantly water. Probiotic rich foods. Here's the thing about probiotics. I would not recommend a probiotic because we don't know what the root cause is. And introducing probiotics, this is why I have a huge problem with Happy Mammoth and all this bullshit that they're selling for menopause belly. It's probiotics. And you put a probiotic into your gut where you have a root cause, it is going to blow that sucker up, right? So probiotics are not a panacea for bloating, right? It can make things worse depending on what's going on in your gut, So I will say there's one strain that you can start with called Saccharomyces boulardii. That is not a typical thing that you're going to find in a probiotic. It is a strain all on its own. So when you're looking at probiotics, it's the lactose and the bifidose. And so there's a book by Dr. Michael Ruscio. If you are interested in that, I highly recommend, right? If you are truly like suffering with bloating, whoop, here we go. Oh no, there we go. Healthy Gut, Healthy You by Dr. Michael Ruscio. It's broken down so by symptom, like depending on what's going on, because who knows, like, do we have SIBO, right? Or do we have a candida overgrowth? Like, you don't know. That's why you throw probiotics in there, you're going to bloom that sucker up, right? So you have to be careful about the products that you're taking. But if we're looking at bloating, for me, it was for those meal times, like, if I know, right, that I'm going to, like when I travel and stuff, so I take my Saccharomyces boulardii, that helps with bloating, helps the digestion process. And then what else? Digestive enzymes, right? That's also going to help as well. So so yeah, you got to be careful with probiotics. You think, hey, this is going to be, because the probiotics will promise everything in the sun, you know, and it just doesn't work. So, so probiotic rich foods though, Greek yogurt, right, has a high amount of probiotics that are, it's a specific strains that will be tolerable for most people, right? But it really depends what's going on again in your gut. Things like kimchi, which I wish I liked, I don't. Sauerkraut, I love sauerkraut. I love pickles, right? That stuff works. And then I don't know how you say this. My mom has always said kefir. I don't know if it's kefir. Like, I don't know. My mom's German, so I kind of question some of the things that I know to be true. So those are going to be probiotic rich foods that you can have incorporated into your diet every day. And then prebiotic foods, things like bananas, asparagus, onions, garlic, right? But again, not everybody can have the onions and the garlic family. So, and then just looking at like digestive friendly carbs, things, very like oatmeal, quinoa, rice, like things that are very easy to digest. Here's the thing, right? Brown rice is healthier than white rice. Everybody ever hear that? Guess what? We have a hell of a time trying to break down brown rice. So since when? Like, it's just all these rules that we hear, that has a cascading effect. I love brown rice and wild rice, and I don't have a problem breaking that down, but some people do. So I think we already talked about, if you're already bloated, things that you can try, having the ginger or peppermint tea. I think there is also has to be mentioned, like, constipation is going to cause bloating. And so that needs to be addressed. I think if you increase your fiber, it's either going to make constipation worse or it's going to make it better, right? So there's two different ways, but you're never going to go wrong with water, right? So water is definitely going to be your friend. And then there are some teas that you can take, like a smooth move tea or senna root, that's going to help move things along. But again, question, why do we have to take this? If you're just taking it once in a while, like, that's not a big deal. But if you have to take it all the time, then there's something going on that needs to be addressed. Water, warm lemon water stimulates digestion and gets things moving, right? Okay, cool story, bro. So does coffee. Okay. So I think we all know that one. Again, kombucha and ACV, make sure that's diluted and you can support your gut health with that. I do a little cocktail at night with kombucha and magnesium glycinate to help me sleep. I don't take magnesium citrate. And then I take a little bit of ACV in there, and it's all gross. It's not great. So I just suck that down, get that down. We talked about digestive enzymes already. The mag citrate, like if you are constipated, that will definitely get things moving for sure. And then the movement as well. So walking, some kind of activity, the rebounder, the trampoline, that can help too. But if you're constipated, that might compact that. So again, and then some yoga poses. There's some yoga poses that you can do to help move. So any kind of twisting pose, and then like happy baby is going to help kind of move the air through the digestive tract. So I hope those are some practical fixes and tips that you guys can try. Chronic bloating is definitely going to be something different than just having occasional bloating. All right, so some of these steps will work, some of these steps will not work, depending on what is going on. The underlying theme is stress for sure. You're so bound up like that you're not giving the rest and digest is very real. And oops, I forgot to talk about meal timing and the speed of your eating, right? Slow down your eating and chew your food. We live in a very much a fast food, like, oh my God, I only have 5 minutes to eat. Let me slam this down and get back to what? To your job? Like, get back to what? Right? You should be taking care of yourself and giving yourself time to eat and enjoy those foods and rest and digest. What's his name? But he was like, be thankful for your food and do a little, like, okay, cool. Like, I'm gonna make time, but I don't have that much time, for crying out loud, to sit here and do a prayer over my food and be grateful for where it came from, But, there is something to mindfulness and enjoying that food and slowing down and taking the time for something that's a very necessary thing. It is a completely different vibe when you sit down and enjoy your food rather than slamming down a 12-piece nugget meal, like in record time. Like, yeah, I think we know that that's probably not going to have the best effect on the gut. And then certain things, like heavily processed foods, like premier protein shakes, like with ingredients this long. A lot of these foods just have a lot of stuff in them. Anything that's amended with fiber, inulin and chicory root, we have a hard time digesting that. And so these are going to be in a lot of those low carb foods, those keto breads. They put this amended fiber in there. It is a gluten bomb is what it is. And so what happens is they put this in there so that they can say, this food is actually less calories. And they're getting crazy with the counts. I saw something, a tortilla the other day had 20 grams of fiber. Okay. Like, and they're taking 80 calories off of that product. So they're saying this product is only 80 calories. It's not, it's 160 calories, but they're putting the gluten bomb in there so that they can say this is now a low carb food because they're deducting the fiber, but we can't break down that fiber. So, so be careful with those guys and just be careful about what you put into your body if you're having significant, issues with bloating, occasional bloating, like we know, like having pizza, maybe a couple beers, on a Sunday night, we might be a little bit bloated and it's fine and it'll be gone the next day. You just know that, maybe go for a walk. But being careful. Alcohol too, can affect. Also coffee, having too much coffee is again cranking up the stress response. And alcohol kind of will do a number on your belly as well, and slow down digestion, because your body is going to be prioritizing. It's not going to be prioritizing digestion. It's going to be prioritizing how are we going to eliminate this alcohol. So keep that in mind. So I think that is it. Questions. I'm going to open the floor for questions. Jennifer, you're welcome. And did anybody learn anything today, or something that maybe you're going to try? Any key takeaways? You can unmute or put in the chat.
It's interesting about the thyroid piece.
Thyroid has a huge effect on the gut, for sure. Yeah.
Kathy, I think what you reminded me, or I learned, is just that too much is also bad. Like, you think, you're going to move it around with, increase your fiber and increase your water intake. Now I know the water's probably not going to do that, but yeah, the too much fiber and the too much part is really what kind of resonated with me, is to kind of be mindful of those things.
Yeah. Cause I'll see when I'll see somebody's logs, I'm like, wow, how are you getting in 50 to 60 grams of fiber?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm having 2 of those carb balanced spinach wraps. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and what you're doing. And I've been focusing also on protein and fiber. So that's probably could be for me a sensitivity as well. That's driving both.
I've never really seen anybody have a sensitivity to chicken.
Well, yeah, I just don't like it. I just don't like it very much. I've gotta
Yeah, it kind of
doctor it.
depends, like again, like, maybe somebody's intolerant to tuna or something like that, but
No, yeah, I don't think the specific food, maybe it's just the volume of it. Like, when you start having a lot more protein,
yeah,
that
yeah,
could
for
back you
sure.
up a little
That
bit.
helps. And I see that a lot too, because like then sometimes we're seeing some man-made proteins come in,
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah,
Some of those bars, right, that are really,
yeah,
again, they're very famous for having erythritol, which
yeah,
not a lot of people can tolerate, or sucralose, I should say sucralose. People can tolerate erythritol a little bit better than sucralose. Not everybody has a problem with that, but again, in those products, inulin, chicory root, and just there's a lot of stuff in there. You're trying to get protein from a protein bar, it's
yeah.
really candy bar
Eat
with
some chicken.
yeah.
Eat some damn chicken is what you would say.
Quest
Anyway,
chips, like when you look at this, it's like, just what the hell, like just have freaking tortilla chips, like good for God's sakes, like have
yeah,
freaking Dorito,
that's right.
Quest chip is not better. This is probably worse, like honestly. But so I have a little PDF, so I'm gonna write all this down for you guys, and then I'll send this into the replay so that you guys can have like that to
Yeah.
look at. I know we kind of talked about a lot.
Yes.
But I am going to have a 3-day mini workshop coming up, and it's going to have like an hour-long intensive. We're going to be talking about this as well. It's going to be not as much, like I'll probably do like a deeper dive on just the stress piece more than anything, and how it relates, and like how like this is one of it's typically not like nutrition's easy to fix. Workouts are easy to fix. It's the stress piece, it's the
Yeah.
mindset that really has the biggest impact on women that are going through menopause. But we're going to go in depth on to what does nutrition look like, or should look like, what does training look like, and then going very much into the mindset and the stress piece. And so that's going to be a 3-day workshop coming up starting what is it, President's Day, like the 17th of February.
Right.
So 3 days, 1 hour-long workshop. I'm going to do a morning one, and then I'm going to do a night one. They're both going to be the same, so that I can see, like, which ones capture as many people as I can. And so that's going to be coming up. But maybe I'll do the stress piece. I'll have to fly it out. I'll put it out there, like who wants the information on that, because I know it's super important. I don't think if I put out like yeah, we'll see. Like I don't think people understand how impactful stress is.
Kathy, did you touch on, you had mentioned about meal timing?
Yeah, so I think I meant more the speed of meals.
Okay. So that,
Because
okay.
meal timing like that I don't think that has a
Vary
huge
with
impact.
people's schedules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. But then when we look at like, can we spread out meals? Like that's probably more advantageous than having a huge bolus of food, at one time.
Yeah.
Again,
No, I've definitely done.
another reason for like against intermittent fasting.
No, I since I joined the program and I stopped that, I was doing I was up to like 20 hours fasting and 4 hours of eating, which, you look at somebody with a difficult, challenging digestive system.
Yeah.
You wonder, like, what the heck are you saying? Like, I'm supposed to jam all my calories and all my macros in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So sometimes
For what? For cell autophagy. That's it.
yeah.
That's the magic.
But your stomach's sticking out and you look like you're 8 months pregnant at 55. No. But
Yeah.
but that whole mindset has changed, and now it's it's a breakfast and it's a lunch and it's a dinner. But yeah, the bloating's been my whole life. It's like, even like my girls will be saying like, Mom, I don't even want to wear a bathing suit in the summer. I drink water. So it's got to be stress. It's got to be anxiety. It's got to be that, because why is everybody going through it? because we all know we have stress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that would be a definite good one to address.
Yeah.
Because,
I'll throw it out there. I'll see what the interest is on that.
yeah, because people, will be like, oh yeah, we all have stress. Yeah, but we all don't have to live like
Who
this.
doesn't?
But we don't all have to live like this. We don't all have to feel like this. But also, your food choices. Like I've noticed since I had my surgery that, I'm eating vegetables now and I'm having no problem with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're in a different situation too, so.
No, but that was my root. That was my root cause of why that was happening when I thought it was more food sensitivity. I still haven't ventured back to dairy and gluten. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but yeah, no, I definitely think that stress thing we could, talk about more self-care and certain exercises to do, and some people could be meditation, some people it could be just just
At
sitting.
one point, like meditation was very stressful for me.
Oh, I don't meditate. I can't meditate because my brain is going like this. I can't get into that state. So I found other forms of getting into a meditative state without meditating because I couldn't. I tried it for a long time and I could never shut down my brain
Yeah.
to get into that.
I have to do that. So.
And I like the ones that you sent, like those little short ones, like the 3 to 6 minute. They're perfect. They're
Yeah.
perfect.
That's definitely my MO.
Yeah. No, they're great. They're great. I love your background
Oh, thank you.
and the colors go perfect with your face coloring and your hair. Looks great.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. I want to get back to weight training. So we'll book a call or something.
Yeah, I'll wait on book a call. Let me end this and then I'll reach out to you. I got to get this to Atlanta so that she can send out the replay. And then I'll send you my link so we can talk about that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you. And
A little late. I was on a meeting.
And Lisa, I'll talk to you soon too. Bye.
Bye.